We have two stories that kind of go hand in hand. The first is the DHS. We have the DHS and the DOJ targeting the far left extremists, the terror. But we're going to start with the swatting because we've got an update. Owen Schroyer, the video put out is insane. DHS will hunt down swatters targeting conservative figures. Secretary Christine Noem says under President Trump's leadership, we will not sit idly by as conservative new media and their families are being targeted by false swatting. DHS Gov has the ability to trace phone numbers and track location information. We will use it to hunt these cowards down. This is an attack on our law enforcement and innocent families, and we will prosecute it as such. Take a look at this. Owen Schroyer tweeting, just got swatted. This is just one of the videos he has where police came to his door, weapons trained, and brought him out, made him take off his shirt, put his hands up, walk backwards. This is manipulating law enforcement to force them to engage in or to cause terror of these individuals. There were a couple other individuals that I saw. Some of these individuals getting swatted are not particularly prominent. No disrespect, but it's local news picking it up.
Yep.
The stories we see tend to be these big national figures, but then in the media, there are smaller conservative personalities being targeted as well.
Possible that it's foreign agents using like throughputs to get to a local number. And man, I told Chase Geyser, who had experienced this a week ago or so, he was swatted, and we talked, and I was like, contact your local police department, let them know who you are, that you're a streamer. And if you are a streamer, you should do the same. Get to know your local cops, because if they know who you are and they know you're prominent, if they get that call, they're going to know ahead of time that they don't necessarily need to kick the door down, that there's probably some malfeasance going on.
That's a really good point. It's worth noting, whether you're in the political realm or even if you're just a regular streamer, it's a good idea to let your local law enforcement know to the degree that you can. I mean, if you're in a big city, it's harder to get in touch with police and make them aware. But if you're in a smaller town, you can definitely reach out to your local law enforcement and say, look, I'm a low-level public figure, right? Just don't try and pump yourself up, but just be like, look, if someone ever calls in these kind of calls, let me know first, call me. You can talk, I'll be there. This kind of stuff happens from time to time, so it's a really good point, Ian.
Thanks. And additionally, if this kind of thing, I don't take sides on this, man. If this kind of thing was happening to
I do. I'm on the side of the people that are not doing the swatting.
It's exactly the righteous path. And if people were swatting, and I'll pick on you, Sam Cedar, who I love you, Sammy, but if you, for instance, who's considered on the left, I would be up in arms if people were swatting people like Sam. It's not cool, man. So we got to get this resolved, and I'm glad that they're doing it.
Sure. So I'll say this. If you look to any prominent liberal, they're going to decry this and say, of course we oppose this. And then they're going to advocate for violence.
Yep.
They're going to celebrate Luigi Mangione. They're going to turn on Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert, who essentially encouraged people to commit acts of terrorism. Mm-hmm. And I'll clarify this with full context. Jimmy Kimmel made a joke where he goes, don't vandalize Tesla vehicles. Yep. Anyway, and then everyone busts out laughing, because the implication was do it. And Stephen Colbert said he appreciates the tireless effort of the individual who vandalized a bunch of vehicles, stealing their tires, and said the reason he doesn't condone the violence, that condemnation comes from the deepest pit of his CBS legal team. The insinuation, of course, everyone laughed over the acts of terror. I mean, they are shooting up buildings with guns. The insinuation is it's funny that people are doing it, and they have no remorse. And so just real quick, for these prominent liberals who would dare come out and be like, we don't want any of this. Yeah, tell Bill Burr to shut up because these prominent individuals on your side keep calling for more.
Yeah.
The left. I've been in a bit of a back and forth with some people on X about this, whether or not this is terrorism. There are people that are saying this isn't terrorism. The intent is clearly to frighten people and to harm Tesla, harm people that would buy Teslas, scare people away from supporting Teslas or buying their stock or whatever. The intent is to use violence to frighten people for a political end. It is a purely political thing, and there's no question that is the textbook definition of terrorism.
Yeah. So the definition of terrorism is violence or intimidation for political ends.
Thank you.
The trick here is that for 50 years, it has not been prosecuted on the left. And so the left just can't get it through their heads. They burn down entire cities. They just did it a couple years ago. Nobody gets arrested. If they do, it's a slap on the wrist. So they can't get it through their heads that left-wing political terrorism is actually terrorism.
Yeah. What's his name?
I got to admit, I think they're fully aware of it. They're just lying. I mean, you take a look at the court cases with Donald Trump. The judges keep saying Trump can't do this, Trump can't do that. In the instance of the deportation, it is completely within Trump's authority to deport criminal aliens. Obama did it to a tremendous degree. And they said, where are the trials for these individuals? Ask Obama, I guess. The point is this. It's not about whataboutism. It is they know Democrats have done this. They did not care. They are only pretending now that Trump does it. They are claiming that Trump is pushing us towards a constitutional crisis when Trump uses executive authority as he's allowed. And then their judges that violate jurisdiction, that extend beyond their jurisdiction, make orders of Trump, which he can't abide by, and then say he's causing the crisis. This is the game. They will engage in terror, and then they will joke about it and claim it's not happening, or act like they don't like it while encouraging it.
You're going to say something here? Okay, about this Trump deportation, the judge trying to put a stay on it. This is a bit of a tangent from this story, but I want to flesh this out. So Trump said Tren de Aragua is a terrorist organization. And then he said, now, by my legal authority, because they're a terrorist organization that has been invading at the whim of a government, at the will of a government, because he has the paperwork apparently, I can just get them out of here with this 1789 Act and the illegal whatever it was called.
Why mention that?
Because he was the one that said, so if he said this...
No, why mention 1789?
When the act was written. So he's taking an old law.
What does that have to do with it?
It doesn't matter. I'm just explaining this is the law he used. He used a law.
Right. Just don't bring up when it was codified. It's immaterial.
Okay. It's a tried and it's been in our government for hundreds of years for a reason, because it's an important thing for the president to be able to do in a wartime situation or if there's an invasion. So if Trump says the Proud Boys are a terrorist organization, I'm declaring it. Now I'm going to deport all of them.
You can't. They're citizens.
Hold on. Okay, but what if it was another foreign group that wasn't really terroristic and the president said they were and then started deporting them?
You'd think there'd be a lawsuit about the declaration of Tren de Aragua as a terrorist organization.
Okay, so you'd have to take it back to the declaration itself. That makes sense?
Right.
I mean, if you
can. The reason I bring up the year is that the corporate press has been using this 18th century law as a means of discrediting it. When the great point was made the other day by our super chats, actually this was yesterday morning on the morning show, murder is codified in law well before the existence of the United States. Are we going to go using a 13th century law or a 3rd century law? Trump thinks that he's going to be able to bar. So you have people who we know are not citizens, we know are criminals. The only concern I have is that Trump be transparent and the administration show a list of the individuals that are deported. That's the due process they deserve. Are you a citizen, yes or no? Here you go, everybody. Here's the bio of the individual, their name, where they come from. They are criminals. They're not citizens. We deport them.
And we have a long history of going to war with organizations that are not governments, right? We just got off the global war of terror. That was going for 20 years. That was often, I don't know what the legal mechanism is, but we were effectively fighting organizations. The very first war in our nation's history was against pirates in the Middle East. So this is the shores of Tripoli. Yep. We had
the song, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Marines.
That was the origins of the Marines. We had an invasion by Pancho Villa around 1900, 1910. So that was an organization that Mexico could not control. He was allegedly not under the control of the Mexican government, but it was treated like a war. So we have a long precedent. This is not something new. Mm-hmm. You can go to war against organizations that are not formally governments, just like you can go to war against governments.
Now, Ian, we can have a conversation if Kristi Noem and Pam Bondi arrest a bunch of Antifa because they're domestic terrorists and Trump tries to deport them to El Salvador. Then we're going to have a conversation.
Because they're citizens.
Because they're citizens and they should be in an American prison with American due process, American citizens, and all the Constitution affords them, even if they're disgusting criminals who are committing acts of terror. I don't believe that is a reality. Like the idea that they're going to catch one of these morbidly obese guys, you know, in all black at a Tesla dealership and then be like, to El Salvador with ye, I really don't see happening. But I will absolutely call out the administration. Should they do that, you have my word.
Yeah, or the next administration, if they're like, all right, because of the Patriot Act, the president has such authority now since the Patriot Act to be like, this group's bad. This group's a terrorist organization. I don't know who can challenge the president from declaring that. Is there someone? I don't know enough about that.
I'm pretty sure literally anyone in the United States could file a lawsuit challenging that declaration. Presumably, if you're going to have standing, it's going to be some association with the group. So if Trump came out and said the Proud Boys are terrorists, they could file a suit and say it's an improper designation. In fact, I'm not actually sure there is an official domestic terror designation for any American groups because of the First Amendment. Labeling foreign groups terrorist organizations is because they're specifically not American. So they do not, as foreign entities, they are not subject to the rights of the Constitution. When they entered this country, they are now invaders, and they are not subject to the rights in the same way. If you are an illegal immigrant who entered for, like, you came in for economic reasons, you're going to get granted a decent amount of constitutional rights. I know a lot of people on the right don't like that, but that's true. And the protection is for you, not the illegal immigrant. To prevent the government from arresting, searching, and seizing American citizens, it's going to apply to any human body. However, if you are a known Tren de Aragua member and they're investigating you, they're going to arrest you, put you on a plane, and send you out, and they're going to say, we did. And in fact, there's a ruling in 1948, this has gone viral, that already set the court precedent that deportations under the Alien Enemies Act do not require judicial review.
Correct. Saying
that judges have neither, what did it say? Neither the jurisdiction nor the competence or something like that effect.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Could you imagine? I mean, I don't want to go too far into this because we are going to talk about it later. A scenario where with all these people, I said, imagine this. Donald Trump tells Israel, we are going to cut military funding and aid and pull our personnel unless you stop bombing Gaza. And Israel says, no, we're going to keep doing it. So Trump says, fine. I order all U.S. military assets onto planes to fly back to the United States. We are cutting Israel off. And then a single district court judge bangs the gavel and says, no, do not do that. Send all the military equipment and funding back to Israel. These people would be apoplectic. So these Israel critical individuals.
It's like
on the left.
Times of war, times of invasion, and these words are like, obviously, we haven't been at war since World War II. We haven't officially been at war, so that's off the books. Invasion, and now, like, do you consider it an invasion? And some judges are like, no, and some are like, yes.
That's always how it's been. The judiciary interprets.
And so you get these judges that are like, it wasn't an invasion, therefore these people cannot be deported.
And that's the point of the Supreme Court. So the issue is the president has the authority as it pertains to law enforcement, and the law says he can do this. It's insanity that anyone would be arguing that a single district court, a lower court, could order the president stop international negotiations. That's what happened. Trump negotiated with El Salvador to hold known criminals, and they agreed. A plane was transporting the criminals to El Salvador, and a judge said, turn it around. That's laughably psychotic. You cannot tell the president to cancel his negotiations with world leaders. Because, again, I'll give you another scenario. Trump is talking to Putin and says, we want to end the war in Ukraine. And Putin says, I know you have special forces and weapons coming into Ukraine. And then Trump says, okay, we will pull our special forces, end the funding, and the war is over. And Putin shakes his hand and then pops up CBS News, and they say a lower court judge banged the gavel and said, no, we're going to keep funding the Ukrainians. Putin would be like, why am I wasting my time talking to a man who can't make a deal?
Yeah.
So it's insane to think that Trump can't set this policy.
This does speak to the broader fact that there's, many judges that are, I don't know if there's actually a concerted effort or if it's just because of their ideological bent, but they're trying to stymie the elected president, trying to prevent him from doing things that he was elected to do. And this is a problem, obviously, because the president is elected by the people to perform duties that the people want. So if he gets elected and these judges are going to just say, well, we have a different ideology than the majority of the people that voted for the president, and so we're going to interpose ourselves between the president or between the people.
I think that's fine. I'm totally fine with it. 100%.
I'm not.
100% fine. Obama appoints a judge. Trump gets elected. The judge says, I don't like what you're doing, Trump. He says, okay, let's go to court over it. That's totally fine. The purpose of the judiciary is to extend beyond short terms. We have a president every 4 years. We have Congress every 2 years. We have senators every 6. And then we have judges, which have, I don't know the appointments for the lower courts and Supreme Court's lifetime. The goal there is Obama, there will be a difference in the branch's influence over a long period of time. The issue at hand is when a judge extends beyond his jurisdiction, that is, foreign affairs, international negotiations, and powers under the executive solely for foreign relations. If Donald Trump said, I'm going to transport this criminal from this federal prisoner from New York to California for the purpose of trial, and a lower court district judge in D.C. banged the gavel and said, stop, turn that car around. We have an injunction. I'd say it's totally fine. I know they're obstructing. I know they're doing it for obstructive reasons, but this is different. This is a president saying, as per the DOJ gets challenged by a judge. We have these checks for a reason. I'm fine with those limitations. If Donald Trump says we have captured the leader of a terrorist organization, he's being transported to one of our allies, and a judge says no, it undermines the president's authorities as commander in chief. Doesn't fly. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.